important. And you mentioned to us before the cameras turned on that you're a fixer and you're not a fighter. And that's really important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. In a collaborative divorce, rather than utilizing the court system, other than the paperwork we have to run through, we take a team approach. So each side has their own attorney, but then we have two neutrals, a financial neutral to help with that analysis of how we're going to divide everything up, and then a divorce coach, who's usually a therapist, that helps deal with the emotional side and some of the parenting, the communication, how do we best transition the kids. So we really take care of the people first, and then figure out how it's going to work through the legal system.
This is a whole new concept,
yeah. The concept of collaborative divorce fairly new?
It's been around in Iowa about 10 years, overall longer than that. It started in Minnesota. Some colleagues and I just went to a conference in Chicago in October with people from all over the world, from Italy and Japan and Canada and across the U.S. So it's a slow movement that's been growing around the world.
Okay, so I want you to walk us through how this all works. Of course, you have the two parties that are here. Are they divided up into teams, basically, as to how we're going to approach this?
Well, each side has their own attorney because we can't represent more than one person. But then once they've committed to the collaborative process, we send them to the coach. And that's the first person they meet with, because the coach needs to understand each person's story and the family story, because we need to know the context that this family is coming to us in, so that we can understand where they are and meet them where they are and help them. Then we will usually send them to the neutral, who will gather all of the financial information, the assets, the debts, everything that's out there. And what's nice about this is that we can send them, when they're working with those neutrals, they're sharing that cost, and that's time that they don't have to pay the attorneys.
Okay.
So even though we have more people involved, the divorce pie doesn't really change. We're just dividing it differently, so you're getting an expert, the best person to deal with each side, whether it's emotional, financial, or legal. So, and what this does is shifts us out of combat mode into how are we going to transition the family to their new normal. And so now we're looking at solutions rather than fights. And as we make that shift, you decrease the conflict, and when you decrease the conflict, you decrease the cost. Because it's easier to have the conversations we need to have about how will parenting time look, how will we divide up the resources, the assets and debts, so that each person is okay going forward.
I would imagine, just for both parties to going into this process and knowing that it's collaborative and that just straight out of from the get-go, it kind of, you're walking into it more peacefully.
It is, and it helps that you do have that your attorney is still your ally, and that's the person that you can talk to when you're having some rough days, because it's tough. We do go through the grieving process in divorce, so there will be good days and bad days. But one of the questions I'll ask a lot of times up front is, what story do you want your kids to tell about your divorce in 10 years? And so that kind of shifts the focus out of the pain we're in the moment, because it is tough, to when we're looking at graduation and weddings and grandbabies and all of these life events we're going to be together for, because we share these kids. Do we want the baggage of the divorce dragging through all of that, or do we want that behind us so we can engage in the moment and just celebrate with our kids as they are? Because
a divorce in its own right, there is going to be a period of grieving.
Absolutely.
On both sides, believe it or not, and to try to eliminate the length of that grieving period, I think would be essential.
Well, and to have the coach there who can talk through with them and kind of identify what they're feeling. And this, that anxiety is totally normal, and it's part of the process. And so it puts everything in context. So the couple each understands where the other one is.
Wow, and I'm sure you've seen some couples that have come in with this process and really had their eyes open and realized maybe this whole process wasn't as painful as they initially thought it was going to be.
No, that's very common, and to see, that's what's so rewarding, is to see people at the beginning that we may have some tears and some tough conversations and tension, and by the end they're talking about, all right, do you have the soccer schedule, and do you have, I'm going to pick them up this day, and just co-parenting peacefully. And they've been able to start to heal, and we talk about how do we rebuild trust, what do we need from each other, how do we improve our communication, because you're going to have to work together for these kids, and we don't want, whatever you do to each other, you do to your kids. So we want this relationship to be as healthy in its new form as we can.
And there's a quote that you love here, and it can talk about that a little bit, because this is all going above and beyond just the legal side of.
Yes. And I tried to find, it was a Georgia Supreme Court justice, and I can't remember his name, but the quote was that the first three professions were the clergy to heal the soul, the physician to heal the body, and the lawyer to heal the community. And I really like that. We do our best when we combine our compassionate hearts and our analytical minds to be the healers, to be able to come in and meet people where they are and to help them figure out how they can move forward, how they can meet their needs, and find a solution that gets them out of the fight.
Now, when it comes to a collaborative divorce, sometimes divorces, they run for a long period of time. They get strung out. What's a typical time period for a collaborative divorce?
Usually in collaborative, we are done within the 90-day waiting period that Iowa has. Between when you file a petition and when you have the decree, there's a minimum 90 days. Usually we're done in that time, but we really follow the couple. So for some families, they need a little bit longer. Maybe if they have young kids, we're going to test out some different parenting schedules to see what.
And that's not a problem for you to do that?
No.
No.
No, we absolutely follow their lead.
Do you ever run into a problem with maybe one of the parties is wanting to do this collaborative route and the other is not? How do you address that?
Good question.
So oftentimes I will offer, and most of our group will offer, an educational session. So I'll sit with both of them and just answer any of their questions, so they're hearing the same thing at the same time. They see that I'm generally not a scary attorney. It's a little bit different than the stereotype. I also encourage them to go talk to somebody. Have the interview, learn about the process. If it's not something you're comfortable with, that's okay, but at least do the research.
So you've been doing this for a long time now, and your company has been around since what, 2012? 2012. And what's some of the most gratifying experiences you've had with couples that came to you?
What I like to see is the couples that are able to make a breakthrough and learn how they're going to get past whatever brought them to the divorce, and to be able to work forward as parents and as friends. Excuse me. I have had some couples reconcile through the process too.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. So that's something that's another side product that could happen too, like a side effect of this could be maybe reconciliation might be a byproduct of what is going on here. But
sometimes as we talk through what the financial issues are, or the communication issues, or things like that, and they kind of go, but well, now that we've worked through this stuff. Okay. Maybe we'll give it another go.
Okay.
So if people want to find out more information in in the bank of lawyers that are part of this collaborative law process, what are the best ways for them to do that?
So in Central, we have our Central Iowa practice group, and our website is iowacollaborativedivorce.com.
Okay, we'll show it up here on the screen here.
There. And then you also have my website, hallmediationandlaw.com. And you can start with me, and I can guide you to others.
There you go. So again, some things that, this is a scary time of year, obviously, but are you booked up this time of year right now? Are you guys swamped with business, or is there still some room?
There is still some room.
Is there still some time? Because this is the time of year when people are making this decision.
It is. A lot of times people have gone through the holidays for the kids and
do that. So this might be an option. I like the idea.
The fixing, not fighting, and a more caring, kind of thoughtful approach to things, and having that team in place, I'm sure
makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference in the outcome.
Great job out of you for doing this and taking a situation that could be horrendous for some and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you so much for doing that. It is